I'm on the Pewsey Down Nature Reserve, and that is the Alton Barnes White Horse behind me. Today I visited the Alton Barnes Chalk Horse, which is the 5th in my tour of chalk horses. The Alton Barnes White Horse is on Milk Hill in Wiltshire. It's less than 20 miles south from Swindon. It's on quite a big hill, I think it's 295 metres high, but you can appreciate the views without having to climb the hill. You're about to see it in just a moment. John Harvey, the artist who originally cut the horse, intentionally elongated its legs. And that allows for the foreshortening that you would otherwise see that would kind of distort its shape if you looked at it from below. So some of the best views can actually be seen from the road. It's really close to 2 Iron Age hill forts, one on Milk Hill and the other on Walker's Hill. And it's also really close to Adam's Grave, which is a Neolithic long barrow or burial tomb. The Alton Barnes Chalk Horse is in Pewsey Downs National Nature Reserve, and it's also part of a site of special scientific interest. It's one of the healthiest and best chalk downland habitats that still exists in the UK, and it's got these gorgeous orchid-rich grasslands and a huge variety of butterflies. I'm not a good enough photographer to do it justice, so I tend to just lay in the grass. I'm stood on Walker's Hill in the Pewsey Down Nature Reserve, and behind me you can see the Alton Barnes Chalk Horse. I have to say it's my favourite one so far. It's absolutely beautiful here. We've had incredible weather. I can't believe it's January. I went out for a run this morning and it was thick frost. I'll put in a little snippet of my run so you can see what I mean. Up here in the sun it's glorious. There's quite an interesting story behind the cutting of the Alton Barnes horse. It was cut in 1812 by a farmer called Robert Pyle of Manor Farm. And there are actually 2 horses that were cut by farmers called Robert Pyle from Manor Farm, but because of the 27-year gap between the old Pewsey horse, the original one, which I think will be 8th in my little tour of horses, and this one is 27 years, and so now they're not completely sure if it was the same man who commissioned them both with a 27-year gap, or if it was a father and son who each commissioned their own horse. But either way, the person who ended up commissioning it had to pay for it twice. So back in 1812, there used to be a kind of industry of travelling artists who would go to different pubs and inns and offer to repaint their signs. And one of these travelling artists, whose name was John Thorne, ended up here and was commissioned to draw and cut this horse. Thorne provided a sketch of the horse, which is quite similar to the one at Cheryl. It's a kind of walking horse. And he drew it from the canal bridge at Honey Street, which is apparently still the best place to see it from. I'm not convinced it is the best place to see it from. What do you think? Honey Street is also where the really nice cake shop is that we're going to later. And once digging had started, he just disappeared with the money. He was caught and hanged for a series of crimes, but the farmer who commissioned it ended up having to hire a different artist to actually finish the project. Of all the chalk horses, this is not one that's been best cared for over time. It's fallen into disrepair and had to be repaired several times. There's always been just enough maintenance to stop it from disappearing completely. In 1987, when it was scoured and re-chalked, they ended up using military helicopters to fly the chalk up here because it's such a difficult place to get the chalk to. I've been trying to figure out how I could volunteer to help at one of the scourings. I haven't been very successful yet, and it's possible that it's no longer a job done by volunteers. But if I can figure out a way, I'll share the details below. I'm just above the chalk horse now, and we're here for a close-up. They always look really weird from this perspective, but you can see how big this one is. The fence you can see behind me was put in to stop the cows who graze on this field from damaging the horse, and apparently it does a pretty good job of that. But unfortunately, it doesn't do such a good job of protecting this poor chalk horse from all of the rabbits who come out here and are damaging it. Right now, you actually can't see very much damage from rabbits, but apparently it needs quite a lot of maintenance because rabbits keep digging through it and breaking it. It's less than a 5-minute drive to the Honey Street Mill Cafe, and it is 100% worth going. They have amazing cakes and very pretty teapots, and there are some other little shops and things there too. Like an amateur, I totally forgot about filming and I just ate my cake. It was delicious, and you'll just have to take my word for it.